Mr. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center in this next interview, presentation of the Vancouver Canadians. They are thanking Seas fans for another great season at the Nat this summer. If you're looking to guarantee your seats for all the action in 2025, please visit CanadiansBaseball.com or call 604-872-5232. Chris Mason played 326 games in the National Hockey League between the pipes and has served as a Nashville Predators color analyst with Bally Sports South. He joins us now. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm getting, I think like we all are, we're getting jacked up for hockey season coming around here, and just getting back into the swing of things feels good.
Yeah, it sure does. Canucks play their first preseason game tonight. Kevin Lankinen will not play, but we anticipate seeing the new goaltender here at some point this week during a busy preseason schedule.
Might take the game day skate just to get the gear on, for heaven's sakes.
Mm-hmm. Chris, tell us everything you know about Kevin Lankinen after covering him for the last couple of years.
First of all, he's a great guy. He's very interesting. He's a very intellectual, soft-spoken, mild-mannered type of a guy. He's a big-time student of the game. I think when he came into the league with Chicago, he got, was up for Rookie of the Year, and the year after that had trouble kind of establishing himself as a starting goaltender. Came to Nashville, really worked on his game. I think he got his mindset right, and what impressed me most with his time in Nashville was his ability just really to be put in any situation, whether he was playing behind UC Saros, hadn't played for 2 weeks, put him against a top place team in the league. He comes in, he played well. His consistency throughout his time in Nashville was just was really impressive. The mental preparation that he puts in to being able to handle those situations. He's also able to play, as starting goaltender minutes as he may have to do depending on Demko's situation, and certainly relieve him and give him a lot more rest as the season goes on. So I think the Canucks got a great goaltender. They couldn't really got a better guy, I think, and especially at the price they got him, which is also could be a really good opportunity career-wise for Lankinen, depending on how things go with Demko.
Takes the rush off of the situation for the Vancouver Canucks, and Artur Shilov's as good as he played, and we'll ask you more about that series in a second here. But Shilov's played very well, but I don't think anybody wants to hand him the keys to the car right now and say go play 40 to 50 games here this season. So having a platoon situation until they're comfortable bringing Demko in on a more full-time basis, that's probably good for both of these guys who have never really proven themselves yet as a number one, either of them, Lankinen included, right?
Yeah, I think Silovs too. What he did last year, I think that was really impressive going into that situation. Not even probably the start of that series, not even think he's going to see any ice time. Came in and played the way that he did. I thought for a young guy, he handled a lot of that situation with a lot of poise. As you guys know, Vancouver's not an easy market, especially for a goaltender. It'll be very interesting to keep an eye on Demko. Obviously, he's one of the best in the game when healthy. But I think Vancouver's in a situation where they've got two really good options, and it's young in Silov's career, early in his career. But what I've seen from him and what he showed in playoffs, I thought he's a guy that looks like he's got a lot of potential.
Lankinen, Chris, break him down stylistically for us.
He's very structured. He looks clean in the net. There's not a lot of extra movement. He's really worked hard on his game. He can get athletic and get powerful if he has to, but he's got really good, and I think this will be really good for similar style of goaltending the Canucks like. There's very good spatial awareness and recognition in his net. He's not going to be over aggressive, going after pucks, diving all over the place, and he's a very good student of the game. I can't wait. You guys should get him on one time. He does this thing after every time he gets off the ice. He's got a little sheet of paper, and he puts a little dot on it, whether it's practice, pregame skate, or a game, whether it went good or bad, and just to be thankful and just to show gratitude that he gets to go to the rink every day in the NHL and go on the ice, and counts that as a blessing. And I really think that his mindset and the way that he looks at the game, really puts him in a good situation to help the Canucks out in their situation.
Mindset's a good topic. Where do you think his is at this point, Chris? Waited all summer, was hoping to get a free agent deal, and then had to settle for a one-year deal when camps began.
Yeah, I think, that's a really interesting situation, because I thought he would go right away. And I think, and you guys will have to ask him, but I think he was waiting. He didn't want to be the backup to a guy that's going to play 60 games where he was in Nashville. I know the Predators wanted him back. They ended up signing another good option in Scott Wedgwood. But I think for Lankinen, he was trying to find a situation where he'd be able to get more time in the net and maybe get an opportunity like something like they're doing it in Vancouver now with the uncertainty in Demko, where he could actually potentially establish himself as a number one. There's not a lot of places you can do that. I thought Calgary might have been another option for him potentially with their situation. But I think with Vancouver and Demko, this is as good as it gets. But I was very surprised. I thought he'd be one of the guys that got scooped up. That July 1st, all goalies in those situations get signed right away. But I think this was a personal preference thing where he was waiting for an opportunity like this, and cost effective for the Canucks. I mean, they got nothing to lose, and a potential opportunity for Lankinen.
Goalie markets are weird, though, aren't they, right now? In terms of how much of the cap percentage-wise you want to devote to goaltending, what goalies will get at the trade deadline. Everybody wants a great goalie. Nobody wants the best goalie because you have to pay the best goalie. How long is it going to be until we see another Carey Price contract? I mean, we're getting veered off here a little bit, but it trickles down to Lankinen, I think, in that it almost feels like the position's being a tad disrespected, or is it in the NFL, Chris, which I'm sure you've been inundated with since you moved down there, like a running back, you don't invest in a running back, but the next one's going to come. And is that the goaltending position right now in the NHL?
I feel it's a great topic. I mean, we could sit here talking hours on that one alone, because I think you're right. I think a lot of teams want to build their teams certain ways. You see, the Oilers, they've dumped a lot of their money into two players and try to fill in around that. You get into kind of depth problems, I think, when you're looking at the third, fourth lines. Goaltending, you don't pay as much. Goaltenders have won the Stanley Cup. Aiden Hill the year before. Bobrovsky's one that has the Carey Price contract where he's making 10 million, and he had a great playoff run the last couple years. Shesterkin's trying to get that money you're talking about, and I think I'm not sure what Swayman's trying to do, but you're right, it's really changing. But I think, as you guys know, and as we've seen, everybody wants one, two, and sometimes you need three good goaltenders in your organization, like the Canucks had to deal with last year in the playoffs. Edmonton had their goalie issues in the playoffs. They ended up kind of sorting it out with Skinner coming around there, but he was taken out of the net, and it's just
well, it gets expensive if you have one guy making 9 but you need two more. It gets expensive, right?
Absolutely. And what if the guy that you're paying 9, all of a sudden he goes through a tough stretch, and then you're playing your second guy, your backup goaltender? It's a tough one. That's why there's not many guys that you can say, like a Demko, when healthy, what you're going to get. You're going to get star goaltending, but now his health has been, kind of a factor. So, how do you quantify that salary cap wise? Can you go and pay him a massive contract with, those kind of issues? UC Saros for the Nashville Predators, who I covered, just got a big deal, but he's one of those guys too. You can count on him. He's going to play 60, 65 games. Vasilevsky, but there's a handful of guys in the league that do that now. And I think, to your point, a lot more teams are not paying the $10 million guy, and they're kind of getting two guys that are going to maybe fight for the net, or one A and then the 1B guy, who could potentially, depending on the situation during the season, take the net for a certain amount of time. So it's a tough situation, and not many war horses like there were back in the day with Brodeur, and not many guys like that anymore.
Yeah. Chris, you've played the position. Put yourself in Thatcher Demko's skates here. You've got an injury to an obscure muscle behind the knee. It can't be fixed with surgery. It's going to give you some pain, and you may just have to play through it from this point forward. How unsettling would all this be?
Yeah, that's a great question and a great thing to think about. Not for Demko. I'm sure he's just had a horrible off season. You've probably seen 100 doctors trying to get a clear answer of first what it is, and then how to get this rectified. Are you gonna have to play with it throughout the your entire career? Is this something that can be rehabbed and go away, and you can get back to 100%? I don't know anything about this injury, and apparently not many people do. It's nobody in hockey, in the history of hockey's ever had it. So this is something that it's probably been a real tough summer for Thatcher Demko. I thought last year He really put himself on the map as a star in this league, and as a guy that can go out and be consistent and really dominate long stretches during the season, and really put the team on his back. And then, for him, he got injured in playoffs. I don't know if this is that injury, or if it's something that happened in the off season, but I just really feel for him. And you never want to see a guy, that's got such great potential, and early in his career, have something that could potentially impact him for the rest of his career.
What did young Sheloffs show you in the playoff series last year?
To me, this is a guy. I was really impressed. I think anytime you see a goaltender, they're all very skilled. They all look very similar in their skill sets. Where you come up, you're like, wow, this kid can play. But what impressed me most was his ability to handle the big, bright, shining lights of the playoffs in the NHL. I had a couple playoff series. I know what it's like. It changes. It's not easy. I don't know if I would have been able to handle that at his age, being able to come in and have, especially in Vancouver when you're playing for the Canucks. I mean, that's a big stage for a young kid, but he seemed to come in, and maybe he was nervous on the inside, but he certainly, I think you guys would agree, he didn't show that outwardly. And I thought Rick Tocchet, the way that he handled that goaltending situation, just kind of made it seem like, who's ever in the net, we're gonna be fine. We trust Artie, and I think that does a lot too for a young kid's psyche, and to have the team really. I mean, they had no other option, but they really rallied around him, and I thought he was a big difference maker. You have a young kid; he's got nothing to lose if he comes in and he plays like crap. I mean, nobody would blame him or anything like that in that situation. And maybe Nashville wins that series, but he came in, he shut the door, and I thought he was awesome. I thought he was great in the next series too. Just couldn't get the goal support.
The nail biting series. Honestly, it was for Vancouver's re-entry into postseason. My goodness, was that nerve wracking. I was on a plane for the Besser goal, the tying goal there in the final seconds. It was crazy. One of the thorns in their side, though, was Kiefer Sherwood, who, of course, is now a member of the Vancouver Canucks. It seems, and it's just idle chat now, but they might be willing to give him a little taste here and there of some pretty advantageous positions. What's the ceiling for Kiefer Sherwood, do you think?
Well, I love him as a player, as a person. He's got a great story. If you go on his hockey DB or whatever, and you look at his offensive success that he had in the American Hockey League, he was the top scorer. He was one of those guys that would light up the score sheet. And he's had a couple cups of coffee to try to make it in the NHL prior to the last couple years. But he completely changed his game. We call him the huntsman on our broadcast because he's just relentless. The way that he forechecks and gets in and just hunts defensemen down, and he just never stops. He's feisty. He can agitate, and when he gets a good opportunity, I mean, they hem teams in with his tenacity, and that's how Vancouver plays. And Tocchet is going to absolutely love the way that Kiefer Sherwood's going to fit in to the identity of the Vancouver Canucks, because that's his MO now. He really changed his game to finally make it in the NHL. I think his older brother, he had a talk with his older brother, Cole Sherwood, I believe. And, he kind of made the conscious decision that when I go up there, this is how I'm going to play. This is how I have to make a difference, by being that type of relentless, get on the forecheck, physical player, which it's every single minute is hard minutes. And I just really respect his journey, because I've seen a lot of players that have his offensive skill set that aren't willing to do that and never end up making the NHL. So I think, it says a lot about him and his character to be able to do that and do it effectively. You guys you're gonna love him. I mean, him and Dakota Joshua and all those kind of guys that get in there and just hound teams. I think he's going to be another one of those guys that's going to be really effective for.
But it sounds like if you think that latent skill might be able to rise, if they give him a second line assignment because of injuries or something like that, you think he could rise to the occasion, find that offensive touch again?
They're talking about a look in the bumper spot too on power play too, Chris.
Yeah,
they love his shot there.
Yep, he definitely can. He's and a lot of seeing what a player's offensive capabilities does matter what line you're playing on, because quite honestly, sometimes you're on that third line and you're the energy line. Your job is to go get pucks and chip it in, hammer defensemen, get on the cycle and play that kind of gritty game. But he has had a lot of offensive success during certain stretches. He does have the skill set, the speed. to be able to play power play minutes and to be able to play higher if he has to, barring injury. Or that's a great guy that you can move up and down the lineup, and he can be effective in any role that you want him to be.
Chris, we spent last question from me here. We spent Blake and I spent a fair bit of time this summer talking about the Nashville Predators, the signings of Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea in free agency, then the Askarov trade where they return a prospect and a first rounder. They have 7 picks in the first 3 rounds in next year's draft, including 3 first rounders on a pretty good team already. And they may even get some cap space if Philadelphia successfully terminates the Ryan Johansson contract. Boy, things look pretty well set up for the Predators this year. And Barry Trotz as GM has already proven himself to be pretty aggressive. What do you think? Predators going for it this year?
I think so. I really do. I think last season they didn't really know what they were going to have team-wise. Obviously, they brought in Ryan O'Reilly, Gus Nyquist, Luke Shen. They wanted some guys that had a winning pedigree to really help mold the younger players and create a winning culture. They get into the playoffs. They did a lot better than anybody expected, I think, last season. And when you look at the core guys, Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg had maybe his best year of his career. It looks like he's kind of figured out how to be that perennial 40-goal scorer. And Luke Evangelista, a good young kid who really, I think, developed a lot quicker than maybe they anticipated. So you put yourself in a situation where if you do add a couple pieces like Stamkos, like Marchessault, Brady Shea, they had to obviously replace Ryan McDonough as they moved him back to Tampa Bay. But you're looking at a team, I mean, with their roster, I mean, you guys saw last year, they play hard. The Canucks and the Predators are actually very similar in the way that they play. But the difference to me in this series was they couldn't score on the power play. The Canucks did a great job on the penalty kill, but the Predators were missing the Stamkos. They're missing a guy like Marchessault, those extra guys that, can get the job done in those special team situations. And I think when you look at their roster now, you put them against anybody that I think is going to be one of the top teams in the West. I think they're in the conversation. And to your point, they've stockpiled the cupboards with draft picks. They got a great return for Askarov. I think he's going to go in a great situation for his career to San Jose. But this was a team and an organization that a couple years ago were in a rebuild mode. Traded away Matthias Ekholm, got good picks for him, wanted to go younger. And then all of a sudden, I think last season, they're a lot better than anybody, including the people internally, thought they would be. So Barry Trotz recognizes Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg. These guys have a window. They're not getting any younger. And I think they believe they're put themselves in a window now to try to go for it.
Yeah, 7 first-round picks marinating there who have yet to touch the NHL on top of 3 first-round picks in next year's draft. And Casper, boy, Nashville, absolutely a team to watch. Chris,
Nashville's a little like a Canadian team. Like, it's hard to land that big name free agent, but here they are. They've got free agents that, I mean, this is as much as I can ever remember Nashville putting chips in. So have some fun with it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Chris, awesome stuff. Thank you for the time here today. Most appreciated, sir. All the best, and we'll call on you down the road here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on, and you're going to love Lankinen and Sherwood, I promise you.